What deployment souvenir almost got you arrested at customs? I was infantry, deployed to Afghanistan for 15 months. Worst deployment of my life. Lost 3 guys from my squad, saw things that still wake me up screaming. Coming home, I wanted something meaningful. Not some cheap trinket from the base exchange, something that represented what we'd been through. Found it during our final patrol. Ancient Soviet helmet, probably from the 1980s invasion. Half buried in a bombed-out building outside Kandahar. Rust covered, dented, but intact. My squad leader said it was fine to take. Dead Russians don't need souvenirs. Wrapped it carefully in my gear, shipped it home with my personal effects. Forgot all about it during the chaos of redeployment. 30 days of leave, family reunions, trying to readjust to civilization. The helmet sat in storage with the rest of my overseas equipment. 6 months later, decided to finally unpack everything. Pulled out the helmet, started cleaning off decades of dirt and rust. That's when I noticed something weird underneath all the grime. What I thought were battle damage marks were actually holes. Perfectly round holes. Bullet holes. This wasn't just some abandoned equipment. Someone had died wearing this thing. But it gets worse. As I kept cleaning, something rattled inside. Turned it upside down and out fell what looked like small white pebbles. Except they weren't pebbles. Bone fragments. Human skull pieces. This helmet still contained parts of whoever had been wearing it when they got shot. Now I'm holding evidence of someone's death from a 40-year-old war. In my garage, in suburban Kansas. With my neighbor's kids playing next door. Called my buddy Jake, who'd become a cop after getting out. Hypothetically, if someone had human remains, what would happen? Hypothetically, that someone would be looking at federal charges. Customs violation, unlawful transport of human remains, possible war crimes evidence. My blood went cold. I hadn't just brought home a souvenir. I'd smuggled a dead person across international borders, spent the next week researching options. Couldn't just throw it away. These were someone's remains. But contacting authorities meant admitting to multiple felonies. Jake suggested talking to a military chaplain. They handle sensitive situations all the time. Might know the right channels. Chaplain Williams listened to my story without judgment. Said he'd seen this before. Soldiers bringing home things they shouldn't have, realizing later what they'd done. The right thing is returning those remains for proper burial, he said. But that doesn't mean you have to destroy your life doing it. He connected me with a veterans organization that specialized in war relic repatriation. They had contacts at the State Department, experience with these exact situations. Turns out I wasn't the first veteran with this problem. Hundreds of soldiers had unknowingly brought home human remains over the decades. There was actually a quiet protocol for handling it. The organization arranged for the helmet to be transferred to the Russian embassy. Anonymous donation, no questions asked. The remains would be returned to Russia for proper burial. But the customs investigation was a nightmare. Homeland Security wanted to know how I'd gotten past their screening. Military wanted to know why I hadn't declared it properly. Spent 8 months under investigation. Lawyers, interviews, polygraph tests. My clearance got suspended. Almost lost my civilian job. Wife nearly left me over the stress. Finally cleared of criminal charges due to lack of intent and cooperation with authorities. But got a permanent flag in my file. No more international travel without special permission. The worst part was the guilt. That helmet represented someone's son, father, brother. He died fighting for his country just like my buddies had. And I treated his remains like a trophy. Started volunteering with veteran repatriation groups after that. Help other soldiers return artifacts they shouldn't have taken. Amazing how many people bring home pieces of history without thinking about the consequences. Found out later that the Russian soldier's name was Pavel Volkov. 22 years old, killed in action near Kandahar in 1984. His family had been looking for his remains for 30 years. They sent me a letter through the embassy. Thanked me for bringing their son home. Said it gave them closure they'd never expected to find.